All right, today we're diving into something called TRIZ. It's a structured, scientific way to innovate that promises to blow your typical brainstorming session right out of the water. Honestly, it might just change how you think about solving problems forever.
You know the feeling, right? You're all in a room, someone's at a whiteboard, and you're supposed to come up with something brilliant. But instead, you just get nothing. Dead ends, it's super common, and man, is it frustrating.
So, what's the alternative to that chaos? Well, if brainstorming is all about random intuition, TRIZ is pretty much its complete opposite. It's algorithmic, it's systematic, it's all based on proven patterns that actually work. It's about trading guesswork for a real process. So, let's talk about why we even need to move beyond those old methods. It's because we have this idea that creativity is supposed to be messy and random and unpredictable. But what if that idea is what's holding us back? And this quote just hits the nail on the head. In the world we live in today, you can't just sit around and wait for a lucky idea to strike. Innovation has to be an engine, something you can rely on, not just a lottery ticket.
Okay, so if innovation isn't just a lucky break, then what is it? Well, let's get into the science of it all. This is where we're going to break down the foundations of TRIZ and see where this incredibly powerful idea came from.
First off, what does TRIZ even mean? It's a Russian acronym, and it stands for the Theory of Inventive Problem Solving. And the core idea is just wild. Someone decided to analyze literally millions of patents from all over the world to see if invention followed any kind of pattern. And the answer was a huge, resounding yes.
And get this wasn't something they cooked up overnight. Not even close. This whole thing started way back in 1946 with a guy named Genrich Altschuler. And for the next 40 years, he and his team just analyzed patents, systematically decoding the DNA of how we invent things.
And this right here is a huge shift in thinking. TRIZ basically says that being an inventor isn't some magical talent you're born with. No, it's a skill that can be taught and learned and practiced. It kind of democratizes the whole idea of innovation.
Okay, so how does it actually work in practice? This is where it gets really interesting. We're going to look at the core engine of TRIZ, which is built to solve the problems that seem, well, impossible. You know, the ones where every solution you think of just creates another problem?
And here's the key difference. Normal problem solving often ends with a compromise, a trade-off. But TRIZ says, nope, don't do that. Instead, you have to dig deeper, find the absolute core contradiction of the problem, and then eliminate it completely. No more trade-offs.
So, TRIZ breaks these problems down into two main types of contradictions. The first one is what they call a technical contradiction. This is the classic scenario. You make one thing better, like speed, but as a direct result, something else, like energy efficiency, gets worse. It's that old can't have your cake and eat it too problem. Here's a perfect example from the real world. You need a part to be stronger. That's good. But the obvious fix is to add more material, which makes it heavier. And that's bad. That's a technical contradiction. TRIZ gives you a systematic way to solve this exact kind of problem without having to make that compromise. Now, the second type, this one's a little trickier. It's called a physical contradiction. This is when a single object needs to have opposite qualities at the same time. It needs to be big and small, or hot and cold. I mean, that sounds impossible, right? And you're not going to believe the best example for this? It's the umbrella. Think about it. An umbrella needs to be big to keep you dry, but it also needs to be small so you can carry it around. What's the solution? The folding umbrella. It's a genius design that separates those contradictory needs in time and space. That's the kind of elegant solution TRIZ helps you find.
So the big question is, how do you find these elegant solutions on purpose, not by accident? Well, TRIZ actually gives you a toolkit. This isn't just some high-level theory. It's a set of practical tools for invention.
Okay, so take a look at this. It's a simplified version of a core tool called the contradiction matrix. You just identify what you want to improve, let's say speed, and then you identify what gets worse because of it, maybe energy use. You find where those two things meet on the chart, and boom, it points you to specific principles that have solved problems just like yours before. So what does that matrix point you to? It points you to one of these 40. Just 40. That's the mind-blowing discovery at the heart of TRIZ. Altschuler found that millions of inventions could all be boiled down to just 40 universal principles, like segmentation, breaking something into smaller independent parts, or nesting, putting one object inside another,
which gave us everything from stacking chairs to telescopic lenses. The matrix doesn't hand you the final answer, but it gives you an incredibly powerful place to start.
You know how we all get stuck in our own assumptions? Well, TRIZ has a tool for that too. It's called the Ideal Final Result, or IFR. The idea is to just imagine the absolute perfect solution, where the thing you want to happen just happens, all by itself, with no cost, no harm, no downside. It's a mental trick that frees you from your constraints and lets you see a truly revolutionary path forward.
Okay, so this all started back in the 40s. Is it still a thing? Oh, absolutely. Let's wrap up by looking at how TRIZ is being used right now by some of the biggest companies in the world and where it's headed next.
And look, we're not just talking about some dusty old theory here. The proof is in who's using it. Giants like Samsung, Intel, Ford, these companies have built TRIZ right into their R&D to solve their most difficult problems. That says it all, really.
But what's happening now is maybe the most exciting part. The systematic, logical way that TRIZ works makes it a perfect partner for modern artificial intelligence. This is the new frontier of innovation.
I mean, this quote just nails it. You take the structured logic of TRIZ and you combine it with the massive power of AI, it's like a superpower. The AI can sift through data to find contradictions and suggest principles way faster than any person could, giving teams scientifically solid concepts in a tiny fraction of the time.
And that really brings us back to the main idea. TRIZ teaches us that the problems that seem completely impossible are usually just hiding a contradiction that we haven't solved yet. So instead of settling for a compromise, we can actually invent a real solution. So think about it. What impossible problem in your own life could you unlock if you just found the right contradiction?